Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me as he does every Thursday is Mike Piwowarski of the Rundown and Arms Room Radio. Mike, thanks for joining us today, man.
Paul, a pleasure as always to join you and the fine folks from Second Amendment Foundation. How's your Thursday going so far?
Thursday is doing fantastic. I did something that is always a joy. Earlier today, I went to pick up a new mode of transportation. I went out to a local dealership and picked up a new, to me, Can-Am Spyder.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice, sir. Tell me about it. Give me the color. Give me what's it look like?
It's actually the exact. My wife bought one a Can-Am Spyder last year. Come on. I'm trying to get Facebook hooked up, and it will not hook up in my broadcast software for some reason. But my wife bought a Can-Am Spyder last year. It's she bought a 2012 because neither one of us buy brand new vehicles. You waste all kinds of money doing that.
You're right.
But I found one that was the exact same year and was on sale for a very good price. Let's put it that way. And we went and got that picked up today. Put some money down on it a few days ago. My bike unfortunately got destroyed in a severe storm we had a couple weeks ago, and got the insurance money today. So we went and picked that up. And got the new bike and got it home just a few hours ago. I actually got to go play with it just a very tiny little bit earlier today. So,
have you guys been able to take your inaugural ride together on your rides there?
Not yet. Quite literally, okay. I had enough time to get it from the dealership, which is about 2 miles from my house, to my house. Get inside, take off the helmet, and start getting ready for the show. That's the time I had.
There you go.
We're expecting rain throughout the weekend, so the bikes will be undercover, probably tomorrow and Sunday. So Monday will be the first chance we have to go out riding together.
Well, make sure you stake this one down so you don't have any more Old Testament acts of destruction on your bike.
I'm telling you what, man. The other my older bike was on its center stand, had a cover on it, and we had 70-mile-an-hour gusts. Somehow the gusts got up underneath the cover and lifted the bike and took it over and on its side and busted up the fairing and busted up the side bag and did over $8,000 worth of damage on a bike that was worth just barely $8,000. So they totaled it.
Yeah, that's somebody up there going, I spite thee. They don't like your bike. You know.
They were saying you were not meant to ride a bike that is designed to go 159 miles an hour.
Yeah, great. There you go. Let's get you something a little more appropriate for where we all are these days.
Yes, absolutely. You know what? I think this is actually going on Facebook. I think this is going out on my personal page. I do not know why.
Oh, hi, Paul's personal friends. How are you?
Wow, that's I've never had that happen before. Susan says, Mike, check messages. That's coming through the YouTube channel.
Yes, I do. I have a message from her.
Okay. Anyway, let's get started. For those of you on YouTube, go ahead and comment, but we do need to get started because we're still going out live to YouTube, live to, I guess, my personal page on Facebook, and live to the Ops Lens people. And, of course, we're recording for podcasts. So let's go ahead, Mike, and let's start talking a little bit about the news of the day. The big news of the day, I'm gonna give this one out straight. I want to get your take, and then I'll give my take.
Okay.
Look, Washington Times came out with a story Donald Trump Jr. launches gun rights advocacy group. Looks like Donald Trump Jr. is putting together his own gun rights advocacy group. I don't know how much time you had to. There's not a lot of information in this New York Times story, or in this, Washington Times story. But what did you get out of it, man?
I'm going to go positive here. I think this has got some legs. We know Junior and his brother Eric are both incredible Second Amendment advocates. They always have been. I've run into them personally at SHOT Show, just going from table to table talking to people about firearms. And these are not those kind of, we like hunting and shooting kind of people. These are, I carry the Glock 19 all decked out as my personal. I've got some Class 3 firearms. These guys are true Second Amendment advocates and supporters. I'm a little concerned, when an organization comes up like this, that it's going to be all about the hype. But reading into it, it's called the Second Amendment Task Force, and I think the one positive it's got going for it is, listen, name recognition, right? You look who's behind the helm at this, and that the rest of the family's involved, and Dad's probably involved as well. I think just based on name alone, they'll probably end up, with more followers than even Second Amendment Foundation very quickly, just because of the names. Now, they're not doing the same kind of work, which is good. Second Amendment clearly we know is the champion and behind 80% of all positive lawsuits coming out against anti-Second Amendment legislation. We know the great work Second Amendment does. Junior has said that they want to be they want to be the professionals at recommending candidates that are pro-gun and not pro-gun. Now, remember, the NRA did that for many years, and they had their sheets and their ratings and their grades. Well, we know where the NRA is now, and again, I'm not trying to throw them under the bus by any means, but once they get their house in order, we can look at being friends again. But until then, they've lost effectiveness, and it looks like Junior and maybe the rest of the family are going to pick up, that mantra right now and head out and be the ones to support, show you which candidates to support. I'm sure there'll probably be some cross-venture, advocacy between the likes of an FPC, SAF, and this new Second Amendment Task Force, because they've all worked together before. We know that Mr. Gottlieb talked to Mr. Trump, President Trump. We know that there's crossover there. We know that, that there's the mutual respect. So I can only see this as a positive thing. It's picking up that, that absence or that void that the NRA has right now, since they've lost a lot of their respected followers. So I think personally a good thing. I don't see where this is going to be bad.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right.
Yeah, look, I got my fingers crossed also. Yeah.
I have a fear about this. My fear is this. My fear is that this is a big publicity stunt, basically. Let's not forget that it was the Trump White House and the Trump ATF that did the bump stock ban.
Oh, hold on. If we're going bump stock, we're going to need more time.
We got 30 minutes, and we've only used 8.5 of it so far. So I don't want to paint this as Saint Trump, meaning senior.
Right.
But
what Trump did, now my opinion there, having watched that whole meeting go on in the White House conference room there, and remember we see plenty of people out there that are all too happy to share us tidbits and snippets of that interview, where he says things like, well, let's take the gun and do due process second. It was not his position by any means. If you watch everything he says before that and everything he says after that, it's something he said at the table with Nancy Pelosi there, trying to get them to come to, some sort of position. This is the deal maker. He brought everybody together, put them in front of the TV, and the Democrats sat there and locked up. They had never had somebody expose their inner workings before the way he did, by putting them all on television and said, you wanted a seat at the table? Here's your seat at the table. Let's talk policy. All right. That's what happened there with the red flag. Bump stocks, I said it when it happened, the day it happened, and it's happened since, that he gave up bump stocks to give the NRA top cover, to take them away from it so they didn't have to deal with it and they could continue to push forward. Now, if you recall, that was before the bottom fell out at the NRA with a lot of Wayne's shenanigans.
Right.
But he did that to protect them. And we've seen, and I predicted it. Remember, he put his judges in office after that. All right, he put it before, during, and after that. We've seen now, and it's coming up, it come up in, is it the Fourth Circuit, that edict, that executive order that he put out, that ATF, that decision that came out is unconstitutional. It cannot be enforced. It's illegal, and we're seeing this. My belief was then, said it that day, that he did it knowing it would not stand up to judicial muster based on the judges he was putting in place. It was him making a deal in order to move forward. We lost bump stocks in order not to lose assault weapons. Their so-called assault weapons. It was the deal he made to save the rest of us, and now we're getting it back.
Okay, and we may, and I've said in recent weeks, bump stocks through the courts, I believe we're going to win.
Absolutely, we're going to win. Yep.
The binary triggers, I believe we're going to win. I believe we're going to get a lot of other things back through the courts. I honestly believe we're going to get through the courts is how we're going to win, and why I'm so proud to work for the Second Amendment Foundation and the work we do through the courts. We're eventually going to be able to go back to the same rights we had in 1929, where you could buy whatever the heck you wanted and get it through the mail.
And none of us will stop until that's where we get. That's the goal, right? Shall not be infringed. We shall move forth so those of us that have the right to own a firearm can do so without being infringed.
Yep. But the second concern I have with this is, because Donald Trump Jr. has the name, and this has been done and continues to be done by the NRA, they will file. The NRA is famous for this. They'll join a lawsuit. They'll file an amicus brief, and when the case goes their way, that way, they'll say the NRA won in court. They will send one representative to West Podunk, and when a whole bunch of gun rights activists go to the city council and say, you are not going to put that restriction in place in our town. And when the city council sees all these people that are going to throw them out of office and goes back on it, the NRA says, we beat back this restriction.
Always.
I'm afraid Trump Jr., look, the SAF, GOA, FPC have been making great strides. What I'm really afraid of is Donald Trump Jr.'s new organization is going to see some things and say, this is what we did. And just because we made this organization. Look, if you want to join in, great. But just please take credit for what you have done.
Sure, yeah, and I think that that would give you some cautious optimism, and I think we'd say that to anybody that came in the door right now. He's been very clear, Junior's been very clear, at least with the article that's come out today, that their focus is raiding politicians. I don't see anything else in there. Maybe there's a plan 6 months down the road if the NRA continues to lose steam, that they do some more work like the ILA does or something along that part of the NRA. But for right now, listen, we're coming up on an election cycle. We're the starting gates of it, and we can't rely on the NRA. Well, he's stepping forward and saying we're here to give the ratings. That's what our focus is going to be. Let's see how this works and go through. And for now, I'll stand beside them, and as long as they're not standing behind me with a knife in my back, right?
There you go. And if anybody connected with Donald Trump Jr. or Mr. Trump, if you happen to be catching us live or replay, open invitation, man. Anytime. I'm sure you have my boss's number, and he can give you mine. If anytime you want on the airwaves, man, you're welcome. If you think I'm being harsh, I'll gladly give you all the time in the world to make your case. I've seen this go around before, more than once. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Mike's right.
Let me say a little something to them, just because we're talking directly to them in case they're watching. Let's go Mets, because they're a couple of Queens boys also. So,
how are the Mets doing this year, by the way?
Oh, the Mets are 14-5, top of the league, number 1 in baseball right now.
All right.
But it's incredibly early, and we have plenty of time to mess that up. That's
yes.
what the Mets do.
Yes. We'll check in again around right around the All-Star break. Exactly.
It'll be over by then.
All right. What else have we got that we wanted to talk? Oh, Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a bill that has passed the legislature, headed for the governor's desk, and Texas did this a couple of years ago. Louisiana did this last year, and Oklahoma. I wish every state would do this. If you are an anti-gun company and you want to sell bonds, you got to look elsewhere other than Texas, Louisiana, and now Oklahoma. You're not going to be able to sell municipal bonds at all in Oklahoma. And in Texas and Louisiana, you're not even going to be able to sell state ones.
Yeah, there's one provision of this that makes them even better than I think the Texas law and the Louisiana law. And for those that are not familiar, this just like Paul said, if a bank wants to do business with a government entity in the state of Texas or in the state of Louisiana, they not only can not have policies against or actively be taking policies against gun stores. Like we're not going to let you have banking services with ABC Bank because we think gun sales are bad, or if you sell to people under 21 long rifles, which is legal by the way, it's bad. That they're banned from participating in the state. They can't do bond issues with the city government or state government, whatever level of government it happens to be. So that's wonderful, and they've never had any problems with this since these laws have passed. Additionally, those banks have to sign a statement that say we have no policy and we shall take up no policy. So it can't be like a one-time deal and then they change their mind. And that's been with banking institutions. That's been with everybody that's FDIC insured kind of banks and everything along those lines. What I really like, and I don't know if you caught this, Paul, is that Oklahoma has included in there PayPal. Okay?
Yep.
If you go anywhere near PayPal and you say your grandfather was a gunner in World War II, you're going to get banned. Okay? You can't say the word gun on PayPal and have anything related to firearms, firearm industry, Second Amendment, no matter what it is. PayPal will shut it down and seize your account, and you'll never get your money back. This is now, there's the opportunity here for PayPal to get thrown under the bus, because if PayPal refuses, they're going to lose Oklahoma. Do you know what a nightmare that's going to be for PayPal to have to say, I can't have any transactions to go to IP addresses in Oklahoma? This may bend the corporate wokeness at PayPal, because they're talking about a lot of work to be thrown out of a state, and that's what they're looking at here. When this is make sure we're clear on that. When this passes in Oklahoma, this is not an if.
Oh, it's passed. It's on its way to the governor's desk.
Yep.
And it's not like the governor's not going to sign it. I believe this is going to get signed. So yeah, I do like that. It's unfortunate that and I'm gonna tie this into something that happened earlier in the week. Elon Musk is the inventor, so to speak, of PayPal. And it's unfortunate that when he sold it, that thing took a hard left turn. You used to be able to, it didn't matter what you wanted to do. PayPal was for sending money over the internet. And now it's...
As long as the transaction was legal, you could use PayPal for it. Yes.
Yeah, you couldn't buy, hookers and blow with it, but other than that,
correct. Right, yeah.
So now it's anything that we think you should be able to buy. Well,
right. Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So I like this. I think PayPal's about to take a black eye on this one.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it works.
Hey, Elon, do you want PayPal back? I mean, just saying.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Last story I want to cover today. We got 10 minutes. This one may fill the 10 minutes. If not, and we'll talk about something. But we also talked about this earlier in the week. There's this sheriff down in Florida, way up in the Panhandle, that held a press conference late last week saying, look, there was this bad guy breaking into multiple houses. One of the people one of the houses he was breaking into shot at him, did not hit him, but thank you for shooting at him. We wish you to hit him. Please, if somebody's breaking into your house, please do shoot at them. You'll save the county money if you hit them. And then this guy is getting blowback, especially from, and I want to bring a quote up here from,
it's the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. Johnson's statement is wildly irresponsible because it essentially encourages people to use deadly force without giving it more consideration. That door the front door to my house, it's not locked for my protection, pal. It's locked for yours.
Yeah, folks. Listen, we tell you often when it's time, you should research information. You should always check. Whether Paul tells you, I tell it to you, whoever happens to say it on TV, whatever the talking head is, to always seek out and do your information. Part of that is to check to make sure your information, the source that your information comes from. Who is the source for an article? We know for a fact, we know last week, Sheriff Bob Johnson, Santa Rosa County, said, hey, bad guy comes busting through your door in the middle of a burglary. You took a shot at him. Good for you. Let us know who you are. We're going to give you a pat on the back. And anybody else out there, if he comes to your house, take a shot at him. You got my support, Sheriff Johnson, right? Well, so go out and do your research. This guy comes along. This is one of those articles to me, Paul, that's like somebody gave me a bag full of $100,000 and now I'm complaining because there was 50s in it instead of just hundreds. This story it should be a non-story. You got this little advocacy group out there that basically said this because they're criminal defense lawyers and they want your money. All right, that's what they want. But
they're going to run out of defendants if they all get take the room temperature challenge.
Right. Yeah, right. Your author here. Let's see. If somebody tells you that this is basically a Second Amendment butt, is what this is. I support the Second Amendment butt. If the resume starts off with I'm an avid hunter and a shooter, then guess what? The word "but's" going to be in there when it comes to the Second Amendment. If the author of the article you're reading is about the Second Amendment somehow, and their byline is avid hunter, shooter, and political columnist, it doesn't say the Second Amendment in there anywhere. Okay, so be cautious when you get there. This title starts out like a Second Amendment article, and all of a sudden it takes a left turn towards the bottom. This is not a pro Second Amendment article, even though it purports to be so. What you have here is a charlatan with a keyboard trying to make you believe they are such. So just be cautious, folks, when you do your own research.
Oh yes, absolutely. You get a comment here going back to Donald Trump Jr. Trump's kid, who is worth between $25 and $300 million himself, and started a new gun organization to raise funds to fight for 2A, and he's claiming he was responsible for the denial of Chippy to ATF. Pete, you were responsible for that. Mike was responsible for that. For a very, very, very tiny little bit, I was responsible for that. All of us were telling all of our listeners, all the people we reach, call your senator. Everybody was saying, call your senator. And the people who pay attention to us were calling their senators. So maybe Donald Trump Jr. has access to senators. We don't. But I think we were all had a hand in that as well.
Yeah. Now, listen, I don't, unless I missed it in the article, I did not see where he claimed responsibility for that. I think the example was given that if there had been, somebody out there like, like the NRA used to do. Like, again, we have that gap now, that void. They're not doing that. Maybe if they did this, they would have made it a non-starter. And as far as the raising money, I never saw him say the money was being raised for him. That money could easily go to an SAF, a GOA, or an FPC, because he's, like I said, he's got that name recognition and can draw those dollars in.
Yeah, 100%. Excuse me.
But again, fingers crossed. Brand new thing. We're being told one thing. I think everybody's sitting around the table, including gun websites. We're all hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst. We're kind of conditioned for that.
Yeah, I really, really do hope that Donald Trump Jr. does exactly what he says and is wildly successful in doing what he wants to do. What he's saying is, if you say you're pro-gun and you're a candidate and you're not, we're going to bring the pain. I think was the direct quote out of that article.
Yeah.
And Mr. Trump, if that's truly what you're about, man, I was wrong, and I will back you 110%.
Yes. Yeah, and if he's telling that truth, there's a bunch of Republicans out right there right now. Some rhinos shaking in their boots. So we'll see how it goes. We got one of them senators here in this state. Wouldn't mind seeing a different Republican in that chair.
Pete says it's on his website front page. Check it out. All right. Well, I will look at that in just a few minutes. In about 5 minutes, because we got about 4 left for the air. So I will check that out as soon as we shut down here. Tell us about what's going on the rundown, man.
Well, good stuff. Last weekend, Craig had the opportunity, went out to, I think it was the California Republican Party was throwing their event, trying to garner some support for their folks out there. So Craig got to do that and covered that on our rundown pages. Then we just, we try to stay up. We try to have a little fun. We try to, do a little entertainment if we can. And I think it's a great little program. It's coming along nicely, and enjoying it for sure. And then, of course, Arms Room Radio. Like I said, the anchor. That's how we got to meet Paul. Was with my involvement on Arms Room Radio. Your involvement with GRPC, and it's a great program. Saturdays 3 to 5, and there we do try to bring the funny. Or at least the two or three guys abusing each other and letting you be entertained by that. It's kind of a radio version of the Three Stooges with gun stuff in it,
Yeah. And I got to say, the one time I got to be on with you and Craig during the rundown, that is a lot of fun to do, and it's somewhat like we do here, but we got to tear it up a little bit too and have fun with it. So
we're more serious here. And listen, when you got a leader and an organization creator like Alan Gottlieb, we stay straight and narrow. Yeah. We stay straight and narrow. I don't need that man to end upset at me by any means.
Let me get a couple more comments in here because we're starting to get some great comments floating in. Fix the NRA if he's worth his dad's name. And George Geller.
Why fix the NRA? Why spend your money fixing somebody else's train wreck?
But you know what? The NRA, let me go off on a tangent here. Heads up, we're going to go long. Because I think this is a fantastic... The NRA is worth saving. And I think Donald Trump Jr. is the kind of person that could be... And honestly, I thought Ollie North was the kind of person that could be the figurehead, that could be the not even a figurehead, that could be the leader to take the NRA in that direction, and could form the NRA back into what it was in the middle 70s through the early 90s. When it was
and he nearly was, but there were some midnight shenanigans, and I remember it occurring rather well. Listen, just thinking about what everybody's saying right now, maybe this Second Amendment task force is it. Maybe this shows the country for 6 months through the election that he is worthy of being the new executive director of the NRA. Maybe that is it. Maybe he fixes the NRA by this being an excellent organization that creates from the ground up, and a year from now he gets elected as the new executive director of the NRA.
Oh, man.
He shows he's worthy for it.
Yes. Oh, that would be. Yes, and as I said again, I work for SAF. But my boss has said it. I've said it. I believe it. We need a strong NRA. Right now, we don't have it. We do not have it right now. And Mr. Trump.
Imagine that role.
Yeah.
Imagine that role come in 2024 if there's the name Trump at the head of an NRA.
Well, and Trump at the head of NRA, and maybe Trump at the head of a presidential ticket.
Exactly right. Yep.
I don't think there's anything that's going to stop that. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion.
Listen, he's running. I've been in the room during the personal conversation and heard the man say it himself. He's running.
All right. Well, we are now officially late. And Mike, thank you. Again, on our way out, if you would please plug the Rundown and plug Arms Room Radio, if you would.
Thank you. The Rundown, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out. Go to the Rundown on Facebook, and then, of course, Arms Room Radio. Go to facebook.com/Arms Room Radio, and 3 to 5 on Saturdays. You can listen to us at armsroomradio.com. Pleasure to be with you, Paul. Thank you to you and your boss and everybody else.
All right. And for everybody who's catching this on my personal page, I don't know how I got it on my personal page instead of Polite Society Podcast. Come join me tomorrow and Saturday over on the Polite Society Podcast. I don't know how this ended up on my personal page. I won't pull it down, but wow, that okay. I screwed up somehow because I get it right, 100 times, and this one time, whoops. But everybody, YouTube and OpsLens and everywhere else this goes, please come join me tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. And again on Saturday at noon. This Saturday is going to be a very cool show. We've got Mike's partner, Craig DeLuz. Alex Uli, our every other Friday lawyer, is going to be joining us. And Brooke Cheney from who does her Suicide Prevention Saturdays is going to be joining us for the weekend show. Going to be really looking forward to that one. That's Saturday at noon. So everybody, thank you for watching now. We're going to shut it down, and we will see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. Thanks for watching.